Okay, let me just point out one thing to you. Okay, I've broken down a list of horses here, which have won our major races over the past 12 months. Okay, now these are races worth over $1 million and more. The coveted races, and let's see who they were by. You got Efficient, Zabil, staying bred, New Zealand bred. You got El Segunda, won the Cox Plate by Pins, another New Zealand bred horse that could stay. Master O'Reilly, another New Zealand bred horse, O'Reilly. Tuesday Joy, another New Zealand bred, Carnegie. Non de Jure, won the AJC Derby, New Zealand bred, won Jure again. I don't see our Fashionables and Costa Lagos and
how many of those
reduced choices amongst this. They got Triple Honour, won the Doncaster, again unfashionably bred, honours list, right? Kibbutz, Golan, Arapanis, Daniel Dancer, and you've got El Presidente, which won the Railway, Dante's Fury, and if you want to chuck in other $1 million races like Absolute Clam, who's by Snowland, and the Stradbroke winner, Mr. Baritone by Stravinsky.
But what's your point?
All these horses, well, I think everyone I've gone through is either New Zealand bred or by overseas size.
What you've identified there, look,
what I've identified is our best horses aren't fashionably bred.
Yeah, I agree. Look, but hang on, you got to identify what you consider best horses and what someone in the commercial breeding industry considers best.
Well, the Cox Plate, Melbourne Cup, Caulfield Cup, BMW, Derby, Doncaster, Oaks, they are our best races.
We're not breeding to win those races. The commercial industry isn't breeding to win those races.
And that's my point. That's my point, because we have a lack of depth in our weight for age and staying races, because our breeding industry isn't breeding for these races, but that's where the money is.
And the other thing that you need to have a look at is, when our ultimate question that we're posing here is there enough depth? No, there isn't. But when you look at something like a Golden Slipper, are we ever questioning the depth of the Golden Slipper?
Who cares?
We never are. Well, we never question the depth of sprinting races? We never are. It's because of the direction that our breeding is pointed in. So by presenting these facts, I disagree with you, but hang on, I don't disagree with you.
You asked me a question, are we questioning the depth of our Golden Slipper? And I would say to you, yes.
No, we're not.
I'll tell you why. I'll tell you why. Because year in, year out, we go through the first 4 or 5 horses in the placings in a Golden Slipper don't go on and race as 3-year-olds.
Because they're physically mature horses, and that's when they excel.
So therefore, no depth. Okay, but no depth comes out of those races.
Sometimes it comes
for the
out,
future.
Sometimes
the majority of the time, it doesn't. Soon.
Miss Finland.
Our best horses.
You need to look at
exceptions.
You need to look at these, and you need to then also have a look at how many of them raced at 2, let alone won at 2, and let alone won a Group 1 at 2.
Again, my point being, our best horses are horses that are bred, are later maturing horses that come to age at 3 and at 4. But the silly thing about this, and for the buyer's point of view, is 70% of our prize money is geared towards middle distance races.
That's right, but it takes too long to get there, and our buyers.
But it's worth the wait. It's worth the wait. All those you're making an argument where it's too long to wait, but those people who want these squibs at races too, only 2 horses or 3 horses can benefit. The Golden Slipper winner, the Magic Millions winner, and maybe the Blue Diamond winner, right? Everyone else has done their dash.
I agree with you.
They've all done their money.
I agree with you.
So their impatience is costing them money.
Yeah, I agree with you, but we need to, we're trying to find out why, okay? That's what we're trying to find out. We're not coming to a decision as to
the why, the reason
as to where the best horses are, who they are,
but that's where we've got to start. We've got to look at who our best horses are.
Hang on.
And identify what makes them our best horses.
Well, you've got to look, just a second. A couple of things are wrong here. First of all, you've said that Zabil, Pins, Monsieur were not commercial. Well, they're very commercial. They were horses that were very, very expensive.
Zabil definitely. Zabil. But I don't go to Easter or Magic Million and see 25 or 30 Monjus or Carnegies there. Why? Because they're, like you said before, they're breeding for speed and they want to attract speed size.
In his first year, he was a very well patronised at the major sales, and it's just that they didn't show enough as 3-year-olds early in the piece for him to continue his success, and he had success overseas, so he was sacked. Look, the primary issue here, and one you're not seeing, it's cost. Cost is a big factor here because it is too expensive for most people to wait for a horse to be 3 and 4.
But, you know, their impatience is costing them more money. Maybe because they're paying $300,000 or $400,000 for a horse they consider to be an early runner. And if it doesn't make it as a 2-year-old, it doesn't make it at all. So there's $400,000 down the tube.
Right.
But if they'd spent $100,000 on a later maturing type, because it takes them, they've saved themselves the $300,000, so therefore they're winning. But so there's a different way of looking at it.
There is, but it could be that the people who buy that $300,000 colt, their aspiration is to win the Golden Slipper, to have a stallion, to be involved in that side of it. Now that's what a lot of people, of course, would want to have Derby winners and Cups winners. But as I keep saying to you, it is very hard to identify those qualities in a young horse.
I-
You can't see what's
okay.
inside a horse. You can't see its lung
One
cancer,
thing
you can't see what it
one thing I
say.
will say. One thing I will say is, and I totally agree. I think that's what's driving it. It's the cost of investing in something.
I think the marketing is what's driving it.
But hang on. But one thing I want to say is, I think to a certain extent, people who have that perspective need to have a think about that perspective that they're taking on this issue here. My opinion, and the opinion of many experts, has always been that if a horse is going to be a good 3-year-old, even a good 4-year-old, it will still show something as a 2-year-old. It won't be winning golden slippers, but it will still show something.
Yeah.
And I think there's still plenty of opportunity to sack something after its 2-year-old year, whether it was bred to be a 2-year-old or it wasn't. I think that opportunity is still there. I think it's still going to require that investment of time and that further investment of money, but you'll invest with the knowledge, if you're with a good trainer, that look, this horse will make into a nice 3-year-old. So I personally, if I was out there buying, never going to be a big buyer, but I'd always be looking for the milers and plus, because that's where the money is, that's where the lack of depth is.
I agree.
But the majority of the market that's driving this industry doesn't want that.
Well, therefore the market should be re-educated, and buyers should be re-educated. When their trainers go out and ask them to spend $300,000 or $400,000 or $1 million, we've had over 20 yearlings sold over $1 million this year, and I would say 90% of them were reduced choices, right?
Yep.
Now, that's because they're breeding for precociousness, they're breeding for speed, they're breeding for stallion prospects. But how many of them actually get to stud? How many actually become a successful stud?
How many horses do?
Exactly, but not every horse is getting over $1 million.
Yeah,
only the precocious ones are.
I know, but
and the majority of these people are doing their money.
There has to be an acknowledgement as to what the marketplace is and what.
But
what
who sets the marketplace?
The buyer sets the marketplace. It's supply and demand. People
Yeah,
who want.
well, trainers are buying most of these horses for their clients.
They can't hoodwink a person into buying a horse. They might be able to do it to some extent, but people will look at a potential investment on its merits and see, well, what are the positives and negatives of purchasing this horse, and then they'll make an assessment as to whether they choose to invest.
I'll put this scenario to you. Talking about merits and investment of money, right? Now, I've got $2 million to spend at the yearling sales. So I go out and buy a commercially bred, reduced choice. Let's just use him because he is our supposed #1 stallion, most commercial stallion in Australia. I'll go and pay $2 million for a colt who might make it as a racehorse, win a Group 1 race, and then you've got money at stud there for him, right? So you've got one opportunity. Or do you go out there and buy 10 or 15 later maturing horses, a Derby and Oaks horses,
It's a silly.
Why? You're talking about people who are investing in industry. I would rather have those 10 or 15 staying races, but it's going to give me more opportunity to get a great horse or a staying horse or a champion racehorse rather than investing that money. If that $2 million yearling doesn't succeed as a racehorse, where does that leave that people?
Well, it leaves them in a hole, but.
And what if that person went out and paid that $100,000, $200,000 for a later maturing staying type?
The flip side to that is that horse goes on and becomes a stallion, wins its Group 1, becomes a stallion, and they syndicate it for 20 million.
Again, what are the percentages of that?
Low. What are the percentages of any horse winning a race? Low.
Oh, hang on, on the simple face value though, the percentage
I'm spending 100,000, not 2 million
horses is much better.
Of course, you're going to give yourself more of a chance, but that's not what everybody wants. What you want and what other people want are different. I think you are a person that likes the history of racing, likes the classics, likes the cups.
No, not just that. I'm talking about our depth in racing. That's my main issue, the depth in racing. And I think because we're breeding so much to speed from stallions like Reduced Choice, who, to be fair, has yet to produce a champion. His best horse to date has been Miss Finland. She failed as an older horse. She won a Golden Slipper. She won an Oaks as a 3-year-old, but as a 4-year-old mare. Where? And any of that progeny, have they made their mark as a champion weight for age horse?
Yeah,
None of them.
The only horses that have gone on to compete at weight for age by him are Miss Finland and Lotteria. And both of them, I guess, had some question marks, although Lotteria did I think she ran second.
But Miss Finland didn't go on as an older horse.
No, she wasn't competitive against old. But look,
it's too early to make a full assessment.
It's too early. It's too early.
It may be too early, but what's his eldest crop at racing?
And B,
5 or 6?
And B, people don't give them the time to then develop into those horses. People are getting them. You spend $2 million on these shorts. You're not going to put it away until it's 3 years old.
No. That's my point. Because of the way he's being bred, because of the commercial aspect of it, he's bred so his horses can't go on.
Yeah, and the other thing is he's He's covering
thank God,
Spooky Mares. You said
thank God
Samantha
Miss. Thank God Samantha Miss is buys out of as a little mare.
It's not.
She might have a chance of race on.
It's not necessarily a stallion you have to worry about. I mean, if you don't like Seville, go and buy a Pentire. You know, there's nothing to stop people to go out and buy